You're listening to The KYLO Show, the podcast where we talk about how to keep your love on no matter what and why whole healthy families are going to save the world. And it starts right now.
All right. Well, welcome to The KYLO Show. We are back.
Looking for whole healthy families to save the world.
That's it. We're again and again chasing after great topics and fun discussion around hard things.
Yeah, and
we don't ever talk about light, airy, easy things. We just go right to
there aren't any light, airy relationship issues. I can't even. We are bringing in guests, though.
We starting. Are. That is brand new.
We're gonna do. We're ramping things up.
Yeah, Ben was on here.
He was.
Which he's my favorite guest.
There we go. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
But we also have Dr. Margaret Nagib.
Yeah.
She's coming next week.
It's super fun.
She's like legit professional.
She is. She's a pro.
An amazing human as well.
She's on our board at Loving on Purpose. You know, she's just a super friend over the years that we've got to kind of parallel work with. But now we're starting to work together, which is beautiful.
It's fun. It's been fun getting to know her, just working with her closer and having her on the show and doing a project with her. I mean, I could listen to her talk for hours.
Mm-hmm.
Just
and learn the whole time.
Oh, completely. Yeah. Just from mind-blowing things that I should have known, but I didn't, to really practical takeaways and able to implement immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So she's done a fabulous job of marrying the two of, I'm going to have to work on that for a while, or I can do this tomorrow.
Yeah, she gets wholeness.
Yeah.
She gets it.
She does.
And that's super fun to listen to.
Yeah, it was really fun. So really, we're going to talk about overcoming trauma, because we're going to do our best. We are not the trauma experts, but I know that I meet with a lot of people that have had some level of trauma in their life.
It's interesting how it's defined. You know, I mean, there's what Margaret calls little T and big T.
She'll get into that.
Dr. Jim Wilder, and if you haven't listened to or read or seen Jim Wilder stuff, go check it out. YouTube, Amazon. There's just a lot of really great stuff that he's done with brain science and all the. It's just fun to learn how the body works and how biblical obedience super helps you. It's so fun to watch that.
Yeah. What I find crazy is how often the word trauma is used today.
Yeah, you keep using that word, but I don't think that word means what you think it means.
It is a word I never really thought about or would break down other than an extreme trauma. You know, sexual trauma, physical trauma. That's the only form of trauma I really had.
Or a trauma unit in a hospital.
Sure.
You know,
physical, emotional trauma. You know, that was the word trauma was associated so much with.
And it means, in the Greek, it means wound, right?
But the word trauma right now is...
Offended.
Yes.
Don't like what you said.
It does feel like it has been replaced with the word offended.
Yeah.
And so easily used to escalate the offense almost.
Well, in a trauma situation, a car accident, an assault, somebody cracks you over the head with a baseball bat, you're on the receiving end of something that literally victimizes you. Well, now we've made victim, being a powerless, irresponsible person, we've given you a get out of jail free card for what comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And what comes out of your attitude and what comes out of your character. So the disrespect and irresponsibility that becomes part of people's character has now been legitimized.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you don't have to take responsibility anymore because you were super offended by something.
And that's the sad part for me is being with Margaret, learning that there are different types of trauma more than just the big trauma. Um, I'm frustrated that this new way of the use of trauma has minimized some of the more mild trauma, if I could say it that way,
Little t.
um, to be all clumped in the same thing. But it's really this word trauma we use is like miscategorized, and it's a bummer. It's been misused. I think it probably falls in a different category, maybe stress. We've talked about stress. It might be more stress that you're not managing well.
Yeah, or I mean, there are things that happen that are traumatizing. They leave a wound, right? I mean, your heart is wounded, your psyche is wounded, and a lot of it happens in childhood, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is so
I don't
many.
like the dentist
See,
because I broke my jaw when I was 5.
we shouldn't even mention his
I
name,
see.
but if you look around,
I wasn't
yeah.
even hurt, but I don't like the dentist because of that experience was traumatic as a child.
Yeah, he told you to shut up.
He did. So there is.
And we don't use the word shut up. It's 2 words. Yeah.
So that it would be a little trauma. It was traumatic at that age, and it did make an imprint for me long term. You know, I think that's but being offended at somebody else's beliefs and going into hard dialogue about it, saying that you were traumatizing because we couldn't find agreement, that's misuse for me.
Yeah. It gets very confusing when we talk about legit trauma that somebody needs. I need to spend some time healing over here. I need to find being powerful in that situation, in that memory, in that relationship, what have you. Those are legit. But being so easily offended does not mean that you were traumatized. It means that you're doing a really bad job managing information that comes your way, or differences between human beings.
Oh.
Like, where did you come up with the idea that everybody's supposed to agree with you?
Well, probably as your childhood.
Maybe, or something. We can get into all that, but I just think that it delegitimizes people that really actually are going to have to do some work, and there, there's a lot of people, and Margaret would be one of them, that does just a fantastic job helping.
Yes, and she'll do a great job, especially if you keep listening. She'll give you some beautiful wisdom, some really practical help, and hope to dive into some of that hard work that you're talking about.
This is part of a list in Jim Wilder's book, Living from the Heart Jesus Gave You, of the type A traumas, he calls them. So that would be little t's. But listen, not being cherished and celebrated by one's parents simply by virtue of one's existence. Okay, here we go. Now, this takes you down the road of becoming orphaned. Is that I learned that love was conditional, and here's the trauma. Bam, right there.
Yeah.
Is you now are reacting to a wound that you're not unconditionally loved by your parent.
Yeah.
Okay, this is like when Jesus says, "Woe unto you when you cause one of these little ones to stumble, because it would be better for you to have a big rock tied around your head and thrown into the deep end of the ocean." Like, okay, because it sets human beings up to live in reaction to their wounds from the time they're little. This is attachment issues.
Yeah. Which is it's a crazy thing to think about, that how something like that right then and there changes the direction of your life or the belief that you have for so long, and living as an orphan, which is, the Lord's chasing after us to know that we're not orphans, but how long will that take from that experience?
Yeah. And it's all about self-preservation right there. And now you're in the punishment paradigm. We talk about this in Unpunishable, but it is handed to you in the form usually of the sins of the fathers visit the children's children, to fifth generation. It's this gnarly acting out of the wound that keeps on going. Another one, not receiving large amounts of non-sexual physical nurturing, laps to sit on, arms to hold you, and a willingness to let you go when you've had enough.
Yeah.
You know, that comfort is finding a place of comfort.
The physical comfort.
Yes, just absolute adored, nurture, cherished, protected, basic human needs established in childhood.
Yeah.
You know, not finding that, trauma.
I that image in my head right now is our dog Reagan and her aggressive ability to get physical touch.
Girl, she's just not gonna.
She's not gonna stop.
She didn't think you understood what she said.
And I a child is very much the same way. And if you reject the dog and you send them away, eventually they stop. They don't see you as that safe place to go.
It's hard to imagine Reagan would stop.
Well, she's in a healthy home, so that's probably why she's not stopping. But the same goes as I think of as a child, you get this message of, I'm unwanted here. This need is not important, so I'll stop asking for it. But there has to be a way to, God is redeeming, and He wants wholeness. So talking about these childhood wounds, it's painful, it's hard, but we have to be able to, how do you move to finding, we talked about joy last time, but how do you move to finding joy again and moving towards healing?
Well, it's lies. We believe lies when we're wounded, and the lie is the wound. And so what's governing my belief system is I have to perform to be lovable. I have to please you to be nurtured. I have to work for it. I have to earn it. So that is what I learn about God. God is this circus master who's just, getting the animals to perform for somebody. I don't even know, for himself probably. Yeah. And that leaves me in this parental lie that came from that wound. But when I actually experience the love of my Father, it's unconditional. It's wrapped in forgiveness. It's full of supply, protection, adoration, acceptance. All of a sudden I realize I don't have to do anything. And children don't have to do anything to be loved. Yeah. There obviously there's all the shaping and different things. Here's another one that I thought, it's in the same list of not being given adequate food, clothing, shelter, medical, and dental care. Ready? Not being taught how to do hard things, to problem solve, and to develop persistence.
Well, maybe some of the people are using trauma correctly then.
These are trauma. I was traumatized because I never learned how to persist. I never learned how to solve problems. And so the thing that a lot of people, the super easy to offend, never learned that. I never learned how to problem solve. I just scream and overreact to problems, and it's become somebody else's problem to solve, not my problem to solve.
And now we're adults.
Yeah, change the world for me because I am flipping out. Okay, here you go.
That's hard.
Yeah, that's a tough childhood lesson, but lots of people are learning that.
Yeah, that I feel like that's on display often in all different things. I when I talk to parents about, their kids not doing their homework and having hard consequence, even when their kids, throwing a fit because they don't like that mom made chicken and rice, they wanted macaroni and cheese. I don't know. So they throw a fit. And the accommodation that just keeps building. And I am guilty of this with my son, our son. Ben's not here. I'm always in trouble for saying my son. It's our son.
My son.
But the last child that comes out, yeah, so we'll just go a little easier. I'm tired. I'll care about the big things. But if you're not careful and you do that enough times, one of the things I can easily see happening is I remove an obstacle for you because I don't have time. I don't want to deal with this, and too many of those, it becomes an expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's a lot of what I'm with parents is you don't realize how crucial this lesson is for them to actually walk through because it's so much easier for them to learn it when they're 3 or 6 versus 16 or 26.
Kids pick up on this, right? They pick up on you're tired.
Yes, they do.
They pick up on you're weak and vulnerable. They are cheetahs in the
masters at this.
Serengeti, and you are a limping impala. And you just had a hard day at work or whatever. And these kids are like, oh,
I know what to do.
you expect me to do this little thing that I'm struggling in?
Mm-hmm.
Let me flip out and make it a giant thing that you really don't want to have to deal with. Okay, here you come. Gotcha.
Yeah. And we definitely did that this weekend with the Lincoln in science. This is his least favorite thing. Probably because it just has the most work. I don't know how many pages he had that he hadn't done at all. And he knows if he has work and he needs help to come find us. And we always ask him, but I can't make him tell me the truth. I know, I wish I could. But just to watch the spin out, he threw a fit. He's crying. I'm stupid. I'm the dumbest person in the world, which is what so many parents fall trapped to is in that moment, it becomes the goal of I have to affirm you out of this. But this kid is just trying to get you distracted so we don't actually have to do all this work.
Mm-hmm. And he's triggering our wounds.
Fully. He's totally, I'm the stupid kid. I can't do it. I'm the worst boy in the world. And I just say, I would be sad if that were true, son. I believe in you. I think this is hard. And I want to help you, but I don't want to help you if you're going to throw a fit. And I don't want to help you if you're not going to give me 100% because this is not my schoolwork. Mm-hmm. And 4th grade, I have already done. So if you want my help, I'm going to need something different from you.
I'm going to have to enjoy helping you.
I said, because I don't want to sit here and spend my day doing this. Mm-hmm. I love you, but I will not. And you'll stick with your 20% that you've got in science right now. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I am giving 100%. I said, no, I know what 100% looks like from you. You break a board with that 100%.
Come on, you recommended
are not
black belt.
Doing that here. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go get something to drink. I'm going to come back down and sit with you. And I will know by your physical presence if you're going to give me 100% or not. He's just looking at me, tears running down his face. But these are the moments.
This is bringing out the best in the boy.
But I think these are the moments that you're referencing of the hard stuff that if I just keep stepping in, I move away from them actually accomplishing that, pushing through the hard and being able to, and I gave him a hug and said, I don't make dumb kids. I only make smart ones. I said, because Jesus helped me make you. So,
boom.
And then he's laughing. But it's just these, I'm giving him that after we've committed to this process because I know my son in the moment, he might have needed it given a different situation sooner. But I think trying to restore, some of his hope that he can get through what feels like a traumatic experience.
And if he doesn't face these things, then he ends up accepting the lie.
Yeah.
And lies really are what's driving the dysfunction, the adrenaline addictions, the cortisol addictions that we come up with. Because when you actually do have, big T traumas or type B, Jim Wilder says, he describes them as fractures of the mind. That physical abuse, that violent childhood or domestic violence of any type, sexual abuse, severe neglect, and that kind of stuff. verbal abuse that children and
verbal,
people
emotional.
experience growing up from being just around people who were fractured in their minds, and you just it just keeps visiting, and the severity of this stuff is some kind of normal. It's normal in my parent, it's normal in their parent, it's normal in my childhood. It becomes normal in my life. Is that this fracture it's more than a lie. It's absolute disintegrated. I've come apart here. My body, soul, and spirit is disintegrated. I've moved away from the shalom of God, because integration is what brings my body, soul, and spirit together, creates wholeness. Disintegration is what separates me out into these categories where I can literally justify in my thinking behaving that way towards another human being and going on with my life.
Yeah. It's crazy to have a relationship with some different people that you watch them experience that, and then, or they see their children. And it is such a generational thing that is carried until there is the, repairing of your body, soul, and spirit. And I don't know that children often are able to find that hope as children. I mean, it's available, but usually they're still in the home in which that chaos and pain is happening in. So, to be on the other side of this as an adult, going and living through that, all those lies and all the breakdown of really the design that God had for integration of who you are is why it's so crucial to understand and get those tools that we've been talking about. Margaret she's a professional. That's what she does for a living. And people like her are the place where you find hope for restoration to help you put these pieces back together.
Integrate the whole, all the pieces into wholeness. You think about, during wartime, soldiers that are just exposed to carnage, murder, loss, friends and of their own limbs and different things. You're like, oh my gosh, what box do you put that in?
Yeah.
And how does that not just a fracture of the mind?
Yeah.
So I think that, when we talk about stress and what exposes fractures, what exposes lies in our being is often comes from the outside. So let's talk about the last 2 years being overwhelming. People have lost loved ones. There have been, they've lost employment. One reason, maybe they lost their family business, or they lost, a business they created, or whatever. All the stuff that the children have been through with the jerking around of all the rules and nothing making any sense. Like, how do you not pick up a whole box full of lies about life, about authority, about yourself, about other human beings, society? I mean, how does that not just fracture what we're going to see in 20 years from now? What are those children going to put on display from the trauma of the last 2 years?
Yeah. Which is why it's crucial that you're getting some tools as parents, and as people that are followers of Christ that want to see whole, healthy families change the world, So doing your part of, working on your trauma, working on your triggers, working on your stress, finding tools, finding resources, educating yourself. I mean, we've got this challenge coming up with Margaret, Dr. Margaret Nagib. She's going to help you start the process. I don't know that you're going to complete the process in this challenge. I think it is a jump start to a direction of where you might be needing to go. If anything, it feels like a wonderful opportunity for discovery in learning and finding some hope. She does such a fantastic job of that.
Right. And, post-traumatic stress has got a lot of airtime and a lot, has captured our framing really of trauma. But there's also post-traumatic growth available. That was Allison put that in our notes. I thought, oh, that's good. I'm using that. Post-traumatic stress growth, or getting over these things, through these things, healing, changing, seeing it differently, integrating body, soul, and spirit, back to wholeness. Okay, there we go.
Let's do it.
Now we're on the right road.
And that's what you need. So if you've listened to us, we are not the experts in trauma, but we are all about finding experts who are. And that's what Dr. Margaret Gibb is. So the challenge is coming up. You're going to want to go to stresstraumatriggers.com. And from there, you'll be able to sign up for this challenge. She's going to do a fantastic job. She is a wonderful guide. And you want to make sure that you also keep listening to the show because she's going to be on here and she's going to blow your mind. It's going to be great. So good. Love that. And we will see you guys in just a minute doing some questions. All right. Well, we're going to jump into questions. And if you have questions or testimonies for us, we always love to hear them. You want to go to thekyloshow.com to do that. And it's always fun to hear what you have for us. So the first one we have today comes to us from Angel.
Hi, Danny and Brittany. So I got a question in the boundary area. So I encountered teammates recently who's being really aggressive the whole time. So probably, in this situation, if I give up my boundaries a little bit, probably making this project running a bit more smoother. But I don't want to do this because I want to, steward my boundaries well. So do you have any solutions for this?
Well, I'm hearing just kind of the frustration of wanting to do a good job with what she's been asked to steward, but probably working with somebody that might be a little bit more of a bigger personality, that high D, potentially maybe a C, maybe they're really scared to give up control. But she sounds like she wants to do her active part in the project that she's been given. So, the boundary of, I don't know, I'm assuming she's been given a certain portion of the project to manage, but this person might be trying to take more from her. But to give up her portion means that she's, kind of giving into the scary person that's demanding. So how does she protect the boundaries and steward, being a powerful person? So I don't know, work-wise, what's the consequence if she does say, hey, Bob, feel free to go ahead and do all of it if you want. You're not very fun to work with like this. I want to own my peace. I don't know what level of connection they have to be so bold to have that conversation. I don't know what the consequence would be if she didn't do her piece, all of that moving forward. But, trying to stay powerful in the exchange and not give up boundaries, but also probably not wanting to go to war with this person because that sounds like what's on the table for sure, which is hard.
Yeah, and boundaries are about protecting something. Like I'm going to protect the quality of something, and maybe just she's got ideas invested. She's got time and energy invested. She has responsibility to demonstrate competence in whatever. And so this person is what is it that I'm trying to protect? And then how has she communicated it? As in, let's use Bob. Bob, I feel responsible for this right here. And this idea that these are all things that I need to feel protected while I listen to your ideas. So as long as and oftentimes when somebody oversteps our boundaries, we react in self-preservation and we're not listening. we're not being a team player anymore. We're thinking there's one solution to this problem, and it's mine.
Yeah.
Like, all right, okay, I have turned my brain off. And so if she can just communicate, okay, I need to feel protected of these things while we consider other inputs. I think that's probably going to help.
Yeah, staying powerful and talking about yourself. I need to feel safe. I would love to participate in this, so I will be doing this portion of what was given to me. I would love to hear what your ideas are. I will be actively emailing you to letting you know of my progress. I mean, those are all powerful statements and ownership of what you're going to be doing. So I think those are great places to live in for her.
Great.
Awesome. Thanks, Angel, for that. All right, our next question comes to us from Eve.
Hey, this is a question for Danny. Danny, I know that you're big on Jesus and the gospel and that he's the savior of the world. Could you help us understand how your slogan about healthy families, whole and healthy families, saving the world, how do you reconcile that with Jesus as the savior of the world? I know you're not in opposition to him as savior. Explain how you connect there. Thanks. Love everything you do. So this is not meant as a critique. Thank you.
Thanks, Eve. Obviously, Jesus saves. That's a given. I think really what we're doing is we're saying relationships, and in particular, family relationships, are under attack. And that the world is suffering. The society, and the society I'm a part of is primarily the English-speaking world. The first world. I'll start with California. I'll work my way out to the United States, and we'll go into English-speaking from there. But I know that if we will do families the way that our Father does families, then we are going to infuse our society with so much hope, love, peace, connection, honor, respect, responsibility. And it just snowballs into everyone around us flourishes. You don't have to be me to benefit from me. You just have to want to allow me to flourish and not villainize me or try to destroy me in your pursuit of being you. And that's, my core values are, I want you to be you, but I also want you to benefit from me being me. And I believe that integrating body, soul, and spirit to look like our design, our designer. Like, I want to look like my Father on the planet, and I want all of my children to at least have that opportunity. So I'll do my best to show them a good example, but then they're going to go on and do what they do. That's part of being a free-willed individual. Is you get to do what you want to do with the information that you have.
Yeah. When you first said whole healthy families are going to save the world, we are very much a relationship organization. That's what we've always been. And when I think of Jesus, I think of him being this relational being that just absolutely was displaying what it meant to be a good friend, a good brother, a good son, and ultimately sacrificing his life for us. Adeline was doing a project about Rome and their beliefs, and this book she's reading, and it's talking about the book's belief are that if you obey the rules, then you can go to heaven, even if you've had sin. And that, this is it's a story book that they're reading. It's, so, and then the question was, do you believe that? And she's asking me, she's like, well, do we believe if we follow the rules? I said, well, have you ever broken a rule? And she's laughing. She's like, yes. I said, okay, have you ever sinned? She's like, yes. I said, okay, so are you going to go to heaven? She goes, yes. I said, why? because Jesus died on the cross. I'm like, right. I said, so what did he take for you? She goes, everything. I said, yeah, he took every one of those rules you'll break, every one of those sins that you might encounter. He took it all.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the hope that we have. So when I think of whole healthy families are going to save the world, I put it in categories. I think of faith first. If I'm equipping my family in faith, then they are more aligned with health than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think of family itself. Like if I am protecting and stewarding the relationships, like in my faith with my spouse and with my children, I think that is health. And I think then of culture. If I'm stewarding and mirroring back to my faith, how to respond to this world of crazy culture and being convicted there, then I think we're living in health.
Right.
So that's when I say whole healthy families are going to save the world. It's not my children are the savior of the world. It is so much that what I'm building paired with the Father is wholeness and health, and I want that for every family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's my heart for this. I know she didn't ask me, but I was going to tell her anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I'm a partner in this, and that message is very near and dear to Ben and I and
Mm-hmm.
and what we're doing, being this organization at Loving on Purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I see it, is those three different categories.
Sure. Yeah, I mean it's easy to hear things like whole healthy families are going to save the world,
Sure.
and think that you're making families the savior. Like, okay, well, let's contextualize that with who said that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're teaching men to be great men, you teach them to be godly men first,
Mm-hmm.
and then you teach them to be lovers.
Mm-hmm.
And when Jesus says, the greatest commandment that I could give you is love, is super relational. It's the most potent fuel that you can put in an engine is love.
Mm-hmm.
Because really what Jesus is saying is that love's going to save the world.
Yeah.
And if you'll love each other the way me and my Father, then he contextualizes it. The way me and my Father love each other,
Mm-hmm.
you got this. Love each other, love us,
Mm-hmm.
and love's going to save the world.
Yep. That's great. All right. Well, we're going to jump into our testimonies in just a minute. So we'll see you soon.
Awesome.
All right. Well, today's testimony comes to us from Ron.
My name is Ron Atkins, and I'm just so grateful for KYLO and his teachings. It's really helped me to learn how to interact with people in a different way, where even though we don't agree on things, we have different opinions, we can still love each other and walk together in love, and not have a fear-based relationship. And it's just like my wife says, every day you got a choice, be pitiful or powerful. And I choose to be powerful, and KYLO helps me know how to do it.
Oh, Ron.
Powerful or pitiful? I'm going to change the sermon title. That's
Pitiful
good.
or powerful.
Yeah.
Those two are a dynamic duo.
Yep.
Ron and Don Atkins. Powerful ministry.
Restoration Ministries.
Mm-hmm.
That's there's a story right there.
Mm-hmm.
The guy had 5 life sentences, 500 years in prison.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's a wild story.
It's a wild story. It goes deep.
Mm-hmm.
But to watch that guy, who's probably the most humble, loving human you've ever been around, you just know Jesus is real.
Yes.
Jesus, look at that right there.
Yeah.
Jesus is real.
And he's a big guy.
He's the biggest human I know.
He's a big guy. I love when he met Ben for the first time. He walked up to him and shook his hand. He says, "I met your wife in prison."
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
it's been a crazy story to see Ron there and see Ron, they got married and all these things afterwards. And just what he's done with his life is such a power of the testimony. of who God is and what he's capable of.
You should see their mugshots, right?
Yeah.
Like, wow. Super telling.
Yeah.
The devil is real.
Yep.
Look at their faces. Just look at their life.
Tormented.
And then see them together as a
Yeah.
married couple after Jesus. And you're like, Jesus is
We
real.
have our story with them that we did for Famous for Love.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's on our website.
their
that little-
testimony is there.
yeah.
So if you're curious, you should definitely check it out. It's just absolutely powerful and amazing to hear what they share in their heart for what they're doing. So, and they are whole healthy families saving the world.
Yeah.
They are.
They're bringing in, at this time, they're bringing in women straight from prison to transition into life again.
Yeah.
It's these women they've built relationships with by going into the prisons and giving them hope and giving them a spot to walk with, because they know if they go back to where they're from,
They'll
this
end
is
up-
going to end
yeah.
poorly.
So powerful people right there. Love them.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us at the KYLO Show. And we're excited about next week. You won't want to miss it. Dr. Margaret Nagib is coming.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see you and her next time.
Thanks for listening. Never miss an episode of The KYLO Show by subscribing to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or watch us on the Loving on Purpose YouTube channel. Don't forget to submit your questions and testimonies to thekyloshow.com. The KYLO Show is produced by Ali Armerding, co-produced by Ashley Beck and Anna Hill, sound engineered and edited by Taylor Silk, and show promoter Christian Zamora. Don't forget, whole healthy families gonna save the world.